Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the King of the Cosmos podcast, where our one goal is to glorify God, give him all the glory and all the praise that he deserves. And we are, of course, doing this on our Wednesday night Bible study night here at the church. I want to welcome you back to the program. Thank you for clicking on the video. I hope that you're having a good day. I hope that you're having a good week. I hope that you're continuing to grow in the Lord every single day, and that you stay in His Word and you stay in His presence and you are continually blessed. No matter what you're going through, no matter what the pain that you're going through in your life, I pray that He's with you and that you know that He's with you. Because it can be an entirely different thing from our perspective if we know intellectually that God is with us, but we just don't feel Him with us. We feel alone. We feel like we're fighting this. We're going through all this terrible stuff alone. It can weigh a lot. So it's not just the reality that God is with you because His Holy Spirit is with you. It's also that we have to convince ourselves of that. We have to convince ourselves that God is indeed with us. And so, long story short, hope you're having a good day. Let's get back into the text. Matthew chapter 5. Matthew chapter 5, verse 9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God. If you haven't been tuning into all the podcasts before this, we've been going through the Beatitudes here on the podcast. We've been going through the Beatitudes, and what we really, really wanted to emphasize so far is that the Beatitudes are a step-by-step kind of thing. They're not a, take them and leave them thing. Not like I apply more to that one and, I'm just going to go with that one and hope for the best. They're not individualized. They all take place one after the other. They're what we call them stages of spirituality. And in the stages of spirituality, these are the steps that are taken by a person who is being converted to God, and they realize their poverty in spirit. They realize they're sinners, they're unrighteous, they're unholy. They get imputed with the very righteousness that they hunger and thirst for, and then they become merciful, they become pure in heart. And now we got to the point where they're peacemakers. These people going through these steps, they are now labeled as peacemakers. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. And you can't become a peacemaker without first knowing peace. And we'll get into that here in a bit. The word peacemaker, in fact, I'm going to pull it up on my computer so that you can see. Hold on, let me see if I can get this. Hold on. Technical difficulty. Hold on. Okay, so you're on my screen right now. And if you look over here, you see my mouse right here? Okay, over here on the English Standard Version, I'm on Logos right now. And you can see where we're in verse 9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Now, if you take a look at this word, and we'll do a Bible word study on it. This word, it comes from eirene, okay? It comes from eirene in the Greek, which means peace. And in the Hebrew, it means shalom. I know for a fact you've heard that before. Shalom, complete, utter inner peace with being in a relationship with God. That's what shalom means. And this variation of eirene is the only time that it happens in the New Testament. And in fact, if you go over here to the Septuagint translation, you see right here, no results. It doesn't even show up in the Old Testament, the Greek translation of the Old Testament. It's just in the New Testament. And this word, let me bring you over here to TDNT, says this, okay? About this word, one who makes peace. That's what it means to be a peacemaker. Not a peacekeeper, as we're going to get into here in a moment, but a peacemaker. The rabbis extol pacification as a work of love, and Philo calls God a peacemaker. But the term can also be applied to strong rulers who establish peace by force. The only New Testament use, Matthew 5:9, is along the lines of the rabbinic view. Okay, so that's what it means to be a peacemaker. You make peace with your enemies, with the world around you, with your friends and neighbors, your colleagues, your coworkers, and things like that. You are not a peacekeeper. There's a difference. A peacekeeper wants to maintain peace by their own effort and their force, no matter what the cost. No matter what the cost. And in light of, we have to take the Beatitudes in light of Jesus' main enemies of the day, the Pharisees, the religious elite, the rabbis. Well, they were peacekeepers. They weren't necessarily peacemakers in any form. They were peacekeepers. And they were peacekeepers because they were the establishers of tradition. They were the establishers, the enforcers of tradition, and the deciders of interpretation. If your interpretation went against their interpretation, you might as well be stoned. Anyways, we all know people like that. Like I said episodes before, the Pharisees never went away. They just kind of changed name and changed face. That's all that happened. They never went away. If they were a main enemy for Jesus, they're going to be a main enemy for the church. They always have, they always will be, in one form or the other. They are the ones that you have to agree with us in every point, or you're disfellowshipped and therefore anathematized, and you're liable to be stoned. That's what we're dealing with. Those are what we call peacekeepers, not peacemakers. Those are peacekeepers. Now, there's a part to making peace that is unattractive to a lot of people. A lot of people. And it's this. In order to actively seek out peace, for the Christian to actively seek out peace, for anyone to actively seek out peace, it requires a certain level of submission on one's part. Yeah. And a lot of people don't like that word. A lot of people don't like that word. They don't like that concept. They don't want it anywhere around them. And so peace necessarily does not become a part of them because they don't like even submitting to anything, period, at all. So peace cannot be a part of their vocabulary because they will not submit. They will not relinquish their ideas. They will not relinquish their interpretations or anything like that. They don't want to submit in that area. But when it comes to being peacemakers, the Christian, it becomes in our world, it becomes so easy to be overwhelmed with everything going on around us. All the political stuff, all the emotional stuff, all the hatred, all the division, everything, every single day. And it makes you long for peace. You continue to be crushed down and pummeled by this world, by all the hatred and division and everything that just goes against God. You start to long for peace. You really do. And for the Christian who has had the world pummeling down on them, you start to portray what you want to see in the world. You actually become the change you want to see in the world. You've heard that saying before. Become the change that you want to see in the world. Well, that's a reality for the Christian. But it comes through pressure. It comes through spiritual turmoil. Emotional turmoil, things in our life that just tear us apart. Now, it's easy. It is very easy to just go with the flow of the world. Everything is in turmoil and in chaos and in anarchy, and there's no peace. It's easier, the path of least resistance is to go along with that and to not fight back. The hardest thing that you can do is go against the grain in any way in today's culture, period. That is the hardest thing that you can do, and it's always been that way for every culture, every nation, for all of time. It's always been like that. It's the hardest thing to do, but we are nonetheless called to do it. We are called to make peace and be at peace. And, sometimes that peace that you have, that you portray in your life, it means going against the grain of society, and people don't like it. They don't like it. And when they see you being at peace, while they are outraged at whatever it is that's going on, there will be a few things that happen. Number one, you'll either get some that actually take the time to figure out, hey, what's your deal? You're not in shambles. You're not in pieces like the rest of us. You're not upset like the rest of us. There's a kind of peace about you. What's your deal? And they find out about you. Now, that's a very small minority, by the way. It is. It's a small minority. The other option is one that's much more prevalent in human beings, and that's just rage, just outrage. People get angry at you because the peace that you have comes from the purity that you have, and the purity that you have, it shows in your life by not doing the same things that you once did, and not going out with certain people to certain places anymore. It's not a part of your everyday life. And it does not bother you because you have peace. You have true peace with God. And so people get angry at you. And so, in 1 Peter, let me see if I can pull this up for you again. Okay, and so, in 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 3 and 4, he says, "For the time that is past suffices for doing what the Gentiles want to do, living in sensuality, passions, drunkenness, orgies, drinking parties, and lawless idolatry." Now, stop, because all of this is exactly what we used to do. This is who we used to be. This is a part of who we used to be. It was our identity. And now we're not like that. We are becoming holy. We are being sanctified by the Spirit of God. We continue to change every single day. And we naturally get each one of these out of our lives. And, all the ones that aren't listed here as well. Now, when the world sees that, and the fact that not partaking in this no longer bothers you, well, what happens? Verse 4. With respect to this, they are surprised when you do not join them in the same flood of debauchery, and they malign you. What's it mean to malign? Well, let's just check that really quick. Malign. To revile, to blaspheme, to slander, to drop evil or profane word, to speak bad about you. There you go, slander. To speak bad about you. That's the world's reaction to you. That is the world's reaction to you when you're not like them anymore. And they don't like that. But being the Christian that you are, you continue to want peace, and you continue to seek it with them. Now, from this, I want to quote to you something coming out of Spurgeon's Morning and Evening. This was given to me by a very good friend of mine from from my time in preaching school. And he gave this to me, and I wanted to read this to you because he made a comment on this verse, Matthew 5:9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. And even in what he says here, you're going to see the building off nature of the Beatitudes, how they build off of one another. So let me read this to you. However peaceable we may be in this world, yet we shall be misrepresented and misunderstood. And no marvel, for even the Prince of Peace, by his very peacefulness, brought fire upon the earth. For he himself, though he loved mankind and did no ill, was despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted of grief. Lest therefore the peaceable in heart should be surprised when they meet with enemies. It is added in the following verse, blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake. You have peace, and you long to show that peace, the peace of God that comes from within you. You long to show that peace to the rest of the world. The world doesn't want to have any bit of it. And so what happens next? Persecution, which is exactly the next beatitude. That's what Spurgeon said. Even he saw the building nature of these Beatitudes. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that next week. Why? We're coming back a little bit. Why are you a peacemaker? Why do you want to show peace? I need a cup of coffee. Why do you want to show peace? Well, why do we want to show love? Well, why do we want to show mercy? Because it has been shown to us. Mercy has been shown to us. Love has been demonstrated to us in the cross of Jesus Christ. And peace has been given to us. The hand of peace has been extended to us by God. And what is that peace? Going back to the Beatitudes now. What is that peace? I'm a sinner. I'm unrighteous. I'm unholy. I cannot make myself righteous. And I know for a fact that God is righteous. And therefore, I'm in trouble. And so what happens in verse 6? That hunger and thirsting for righteousness that you have, that you know you can't fill yourself, God fills you. He gives you the righteous requirement. He fulfills that requirement for you in Jesus Christ because Jesus followed the law. Jesus was righteous in all of his life. And his righteous life gets placed onto you, gets imputed to you by faith, not by works. That's why it's in the passive, not in the active. But that's a few episodes ago. And so with that knowledge, it gives you ultimate peace with God. And you become a peacemaker. You share this, hey, experience this peace that I have with God. You go out into all the world and you preach the gospel. You tell them this good news that, hey, I have genuine peace with God. Let me show you. Let me tell you. People don't like that. Some will listen. Some won't. But we show peace because it's been shown to us. God himself makes peace with his enemies. You know, God's going to win the war against wickedness and unrighteousness and sinful people anyways. He's going to win the war. But the gracious God that he is, he extends that hand of peace that, hey, take the terms of unconditional surrender and let's move on and you can be at peace with me. And that's the gospel. We are at peace because he showed us his peace. And so we take that into our lives and we carry that peace with us every single day. And we have reflected before us Romans 12:18, which says what? As much as depends on you, you live at peace with all people, with all men, with all women. You live at peace as much as depends on you. Okay? Now, I'm glad the I'm glad the Apostle Paul put that little caveat at the beginning. As much as depends on you. Remember, we're not peacekeepers. We don't force peace on other people. We are peacemakers. We make it available. We make peace available for everyone. So as much as depends on you in your everyday life, you be at peace. You be at peace with your coworkers, your enemies, and you seek to establish that peace, but you don't force it on them. As much as depends on you, be at peace. When God looks at you, and when he looks at the person that you're trying to extend peace to, who are you responsible for? You've done your job. You've done your influencing, trying to extend peace to that other person. If they don't accept it, well, then that is not as much as it depends on you any longer. Now it's dependent on them. You extended it. You continue to extend it. You don't just stop. But if they don't want the peace, well, don't sweat that. Don't worry about that. God's smart enough to know the difference. God's smart enough to know that, hey, you have done your Christian duty, and now it's on them. So it's not always possible to live truly at peace with all people. It's not. It's just not. But as much as it depends on you, you live with peace. You live at peace with all people. And peace itself it's an important part of the Christian, because peace is one of the fruits of the Spirit. The evidence that the Spirit of God is working in your life every single day, one of those evidences, peace. Peace is being produced. And so you are a peacemaker. Blessed are the peacemakers. And then we go on into that second statement here. The second statement is, for they shall be called sons of God. Every beatitude has the identity of the blessed one right at the beginning. Blessed are the poor, blessed are the meek, blessed are those who hunger and thirst, blessed are the peacemakers. And now we get the reward. What is the reward for the peacemaker? What do they get for their efforts? What do they get for those who are at peace with God and extend that peace to an undeserving world? The same way God does, by the way. What do they get? For they shall be called sons of God. Now, the word there is huioi in the Greek. Sons of God, but it's generally agreed that it's more of a generic term, that it's referencing anyone, sons and daughters of God. Women can't be offspring of God. No, let's not even go there. That's not what he's talking about. It's more of a general term. So those peacemakers, whoever they are, they will be called sons or daughters of God. That's who they will be called. Now, one of the things that we hear all the time is what? Well, we're all the children of God. We're all the children of God. You hear that all the time. And contrary to popular belief, that's actually not true. We're not all children of God. We're children of wrath, as Paul puts it. But we only become the sons and daughters of God through adoption. In Ephesians chapter 1, verse 5, Paul said, He predestined us for adoption to Himself as sons through Jesus Christ. Adoption. Not that we are His actual offspring. Now, the only person, the only fully human being, not talking about Jesus right now, He was fully God, fully man, but the only human being who was ever truly called Son of God was who? Adam. Adam was called a son of God because He was a direct offspring of God. God created Adam. He created him. And we are just, we come from Adam. Adam was a son of God, but we're not. Remember, Adam was born in the garden. He was perfect in every way. Well, as far as we know, what that means. But he wasn't created. And then, let me back up. Adam was created in a different way that we are born. He is. Later on, when the fall happened, Adam sinned. Eve sinned. And now we're all in a different state than Adam and Eve were. And how do we know that? Because they were in the garden and we're not. They were created and were born into direct communion with God. And we're not. Because of what happened, we've been separated. We have been separated. Things die now. Diseases happen. There's been tons of separation that's happened. But the hope is, the peace that's extended to us is that, hey, God's forgiving. He's loving. He's merciful. He's gracious. And look, you can be a part of this divine family. It's extended to you. It's given to you. You can become a part of this family. For free. For free. No matter what you've done, no matter what you've been through, no matter what you've participated in, you can be called a son of God or a daughter of God. You can be part of that divine family. Now, in the Old Testament, the term son of God applies predominantly to the angelic spiritual beings. I don't think it once comes up in reference to a person, like in direct reference. If it does, somebody point that out and put it in the comments section. But I don't think it does once. But predominantly, if it does happen once, most of the time, it's talking about the angelic beings, the beings that are not human beings, the beings that serve God where He is in heaven, that He created. They are still His creatures. They are still submissive to Him. But they are called sons of God. And all of them, they're all God's family. He created them all. And the encouragement is, hey, you can be a part of that family. You can become a son of God, a daughter of God. And you can actually reach out and call God as your Father. That's good stuff. I love that. And so we come to the point in the lesson where things are starting to converge. We are called to show peace in our lives because why? I talked about it earlier. Showing peace in our lives is direct evidence that the Spirit of God is working in our lives. And if we are peacemakers, we are called sons of God. So I want to leave you with this verse, Romans chapter 8, verse 14. For all who are led by the Spirit of God are sons of God, or daughters of God. The Spirit of God, when He's within us, when you are a Christian and you have the Spirit of God living within you, working within you every single day, and one of those things that is produced through the Spirit is peace. And if that is true of you, you're a child of God. You're an adopted child of God, but you are a child of God, a son of God, a daughter of God, family member of God's family. And so with that, we end this episode. And next time will be a little bit different. Because next time it's verse 10. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. But then Jesus, he says almost the same thing in different words in the next two verses. So next time we're going to be looking at 3 verses on and off, and we'll go from there. So thank you so much for joining in today. I hope that the lesson blessed you. I hope that you learned something that maybe you didn't even know before. And I hope you have a good rest of the week, and I will see you Sunday, okay? Take care.